political. This one not they off in mind. Person where they do evil, no one make person talk. Them say that Mayegun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say Mayegun diary, he they hot like pepper. But every day then they take money in bulk. Woman picking, they the street they hawk. Still them talk say, make we no talk. But thank God say, Mayegun don't come. So my people make you laugh. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, my people make you shout. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come, man of the masses. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, Mayegun diary political.
Tí ò bá sí àwa èmi tí ń dúró wájú yìí tí ń lérí ogun tí ní òkè Buhari nìṣó ká máa bá lọ. Kò lè di president. Ó ṣe kìíní olùlẹ̀, ó ṣe kejì olùlẹ̀, ó ṣe kẹta olùlẹ̀. Ó tiẹ̀ sunkún lórí tẹlifíṣàn pé láyé òun ò tún rán mọ́. Mo dẹ̀ lọ bá ń Kaduna wà rán ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀kún kọ́ lélẹ̀ àdúró tiẹ̀ wà á dẹ̀ wọlé. Nǹkan kan ní pé o ò ní fọ̀rọ̀ orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá ṣeré. Ó dẹ̀ gbà. Àtijọ́ tó rẹ̀ ti débẹ̀ mi ò gba mínísítà, mi ò gba contract. Mi tọrọ ọbẹ̀, mi tọrọ gàrí, mi tọrọ fúra lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, mi dẹ̀ ìyàwó ń bẹ̀. Ó wá ní lọ́tẹ̀ yìí o, Yorùbá ló kàn. Tá a bá dẹ̀ sa Yorùbá náà, èmi ló kàn. Eléyìí tí mo protect àwọn ọmọ tí mo gbé dání tó èmi náà fẹ́ ṣe present.
Good evening to you, good morning to you, good afternoon to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun Live. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining me.
Lórí Facebook. Lórí YouTube.
Yes. Sorry for the late start, by the way. Today is interesting as all days as well, because it is like a mixture of, as Yoruba would say, when the situation is beyond crying, you might just start laughing. But at the same time, Yoruba also have this saying, even if you couldn't laugh and you are crying, at the same time, you can see. You see that header for this broadcast, which is the APC Egbekegbe's Manifesto. Listen, I just want to use their own words versus their former words, and then let you see the similarity. They are not actually the basis for this conversation today. These may not sound so good to you, especially so many of you who said you are investing your last card on Nigeria. You want to take Nigeria back. You want to, or Atiku said they want to rescue Nigeria and unify Nigeria and all that. But do you know that, you see that Emilo Kan, as it is now, is the #1 person if they do your election. Meanwhile, you are preparing for election, which is a joke on its own anyway. But they are preparing for power consolidation. At the same time, if you never forgot that the atrocities committed by Buhari and gang and the ones they are committing right now, they are so huge that living power is at a point not an option. So even if they have to physically leave, there must be a concrete guaranteed agreement that they will never be questioned. And as it seems, you see that Kolu is the one who is most favored to be your next president. I told you it's not going to sound good. I'll tell you how did you arrive at that? How did you arrive at that? I'll tell you. In 2019, when many of you indeed participated in that elections, and what transpired and how the abracadabra started when the 3 Kardashians started coming in. All these raised different questions about the validity of that Buhari second term. But that is going to be a child's play to what you're going to have, because in 4 years, APC, Egbekegbe, they were able to prove to everyone that if you are looking for textbook definition of failure, they are exactly the replica of it, the main copy. But they had just one option, which they used very well: rigging. They controlled the military. They controlled the police. They controlled the thugs. They controlled your INEC, including the registration that you do. In one of the effed up moments of that charade of 2019 was the time there when INEC was called. You have been collecting data. You said you have data of over 70 million registered voters. Where did you keep those data? Can you bring them out? They said they didn't have the data. Really? Okay, what about the data of all the collated results and how they happened during the election? They said they have no data for them. So it was just like a boom, gone, because they have the capacity to do that, right? The capacity to do that, rather. So 2023, as we can see, with the emergence of Shetima as next to Tinubu, it seems as you can all probably you are telling yourself internally or probably innerly, right, that Shetima is the one that they have prepared to help them cement their legacy of bloodletting, their legacy of indebtedness, their legacy of terrorism, and other negative legacies that they have brought upon Nigeria. So, as it be, what did they do in 2019 that you can remember about their rigging, that you currently feel like, oh, we have beavers, Mayegun, and other things that they have thrown at you that they will take away in shortly? So Tinubu came out today, and I actually saw, you won't believe that, Goodluck Jonathan was there too. And they came out today to repeat the same lies that they created 7 years ago. But here is what will happen. 2023, if they hold your elections, remember, you are still battling with the increasing insecurity, which they are giving themselves a award for, that they have done so well. That alone means that not every part of Nigeria will participate or be able to participate in the election on its own, which can make them call it off as well. But if they have to call it on tomorrow, or eventually have to do it, you see this APC, Egbekegbe, and the failures that they represent and all that, they are in the better vantage position. The anger has increased, you will say, but the anger, or let me say, the camp has now been decimated. More or less like hungry young people using the body, using the head of the establishment as a body, as the entire body of a movement. Atiku, who participated in 2019, right? And some people believe that he probably defeated Buhari. Now he would not have that chance anymore. With the emergence of Obi, the southern Nigeria has become a depleted zone for Atiku. But there is something I want you to also remember. Like I said, APC, Egbekegbe, is not interested in election, which means they have their regular hotspot where they get or manufacture their numbers from, as always. And as it is, it seems that those who never even supported them, or even those who probably supported them in 2015 and didn't support them again in 2019, as they are kind of angling right now in their book. If you never supported them, you will never support them, which simply means their base is intact, while the base that challenged them in 2019 is now divided. So that presents positioned Kolu as your, you know what I mean? Because southern Nigeria was the point where Atiku was probably pulling a number. In fact, the one that he relied upon in 2019. Now, let's come back to what they are now cooking for you. You haven't seen propaganda. Are you with me? You will see real propaganda now that they have decided to go ahead and forge on. Whatever the arrangement is, don't worry, Mayegun, they will beat them because you want to do election. They are not preparing for election. You see, in the camp of the Obi, ordinarily, if you want to tell yourselves the truth, we have the young people who believe that their own disagreement with the system can be, in a way, channeled through a sort of a political movement, which in return could gain power, like it happened in Kenya, and it happened in whereas again recently as motivation. But the difference here is this, as some of you probably don't want to admit. Peter Obi, as much as they are cooking him every now and then, but there are some certain things that are not cooked. And just like what you will see in Atiku, the statement you hear from Tinubu, and you quickly go up in rage. Remember, EndSARS is one of the reasons why young people in Nigeria today, especially southern Nigeria, that's one of the reasons why many of them are mobilizing tirelessly, because according to them, they need to take their country back. Obi represents that. His own deputy, who happened to be a former PDP member, a former election rigger, a disgraced former senator, I know obedient won't like this. They've been abusing me all money. Anyway, doesn't matter. But that's the guy, and he came on TV yesterday when they were doing the 2 years remembrance for the NSAS victims, especially the Lekki massacre. And their man came up and he said, the word massacre is debatable. You know, he's a scholar, as they say, he owns a university in Abuja. So he came out and he said, you see, it's true that the police assaulted the peaceful protesters. It is true, which is wrong. It is true that, the police attacked them. Maybe 1 or 2 people died or so, but when you use the word massacre, it is debatable. That's the problem with those who claim to be educated. It's the same thing when you see those who try to explain to you what Tinubu is saying in their defense. No, you don't understand what he's saying. Education. English is so difficult to. Maybe they talk, say this one, they live for Scotland. They don't even understand English. It is because in Nigeria, people choose their own slave masters differently. And whenever they choose, seriously, they are never wrong. I'm talking about those who were so enraged or probably were able to use the relationship of Atiku and Sheikh Osama bin Gumi as a mean of listen, they are the same, they are connected and all of that stuff. But at the same time, it is a different narrative when it comes to Obi. But you see that guy, that Daddy is the Shetima of Labour Party. But guess what? They're going to clean him, tidy him, polish him. My friend, shut up. You don't know what you are talking about. He's the brother to a man that we all know came from Mauritania, been a Mauritius, where? Mauritania. The Fulanis from Mauritania. You get that? These are things that no longer matter because to some certain people, well, it's all right. But the guy said, massacre. And guess what? So many obedient. They agreed with him. They said, you don't understand. Even me too. Even me too. I disagree with the word massacre. Can you believe that some of them in defense, they were also asking for bodies? Let's be honest. We know that some of them are saying that they said, we just use that as a campaign against APC. This man is an educated man. That is why he said he's not there. He wasn't there, as if to say many of them were there when the military were shooting. We cannot rely on just a video. The guy knows what he's talking about. We cannot just use word massacre. He's massacre that all of us are using for the past 2 years. It got to your turn. It is debatable. If Atif could come out and say, Lekki massacre is debatable, or more, for 1 week, you know what that would be? Or Tinubu come out and said, it's not different. Tinubu said, those who were there, what were they doing there? We need to question them. That's what Tinubu said. And for 2 years, many of you will never forget that. Anyway, just talking about the rage that built the movement, the political movement that Obi is enjoying. The head, in so many ways, they disagree with the body. The body is the young people who are tired of the system. And they believe, at least when they protested, they were not listened to. Maybe if they turn it into a political revolution and cast their votes and chase out these people that have made their country, or have made them strangers in their country. You get that? That is determination. But at the end of the day, they don't pack goats with the crowd, because you see somebody like Dati, somebody like him, it doesn't have the experience. When I say somebody like him, I'm not just talking about him as an elite. I'm talking about people from northern Nigeria. When you talk about police brutality, they have no clue of what you are talking about, which is the genesis of some of you's rage. When you talk about bad governance, it means different things to them. So at the end of the day, the OB movement is a mixture of, you know, people with different understanding of what Nigeria is exactly and how or where they belong in that Nigeria. Most of those who are like the champion of OB, they are from southern Nigeria. But you see, now that OB needs to build a national review, it needs to mingle with the same rogues, criminals that contributed to what we have today. But since OB is dead, you can ignore the rest, as people will say. But let's go back to Abuja. Mayego, you want to tell us about Tinubu. So why are you talking about OB? I have to tell you. Yeah, I have to. Because some of you are living a lie. Do you understand? You are living a lie. Your emotion is what is driving you. And at the end of the day, in my own book, maybe when you finally realize, it will double your rage. And then you will come to that reality that you might be preparing for elections. These ones are preparing for power consolidation. And by all means, they will do it. But the question is, what are you going to do? What would you do? So APC Egbekegbe came. And then let's even put a picture. Let's paint a picture here. What is Nigeria? Where is Nigeria right now? So that we can at least understand if Mayego is just talking nonsense, or Mayego is trying to let you understand that Nigeria is fucked. And for everyone talking about taking over Nigeria or rescuing Nigeria, they are just talking bollocks. You know what that is? They are talking BS. Let's take a look at the economy. In 2014, 2015, when Tinubu was so sure that all they needed was just that power, they were so lyrical. If you remember,
we will work with you to build a Nigeria that is not corrupt. I bring you a message of hope. We are going to spend a lot of resources on education.
So power consolidation. The failure of APC, Egbekegbe, have cost lives. And I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about those who are physically dead. I'm talking, those who are like dead. I'm talking about those who are also like a walking dead because of what Nigeria has done to them in the last 7 years. When APC, Egbekegbe, came in, Nigeria, according to the reliable sources or reliable information, which is probably out there as well, Nigeria economy was valued at over $500 billion. Nigeria Naira was at about 190 to 199 Naira to $1. Nigeria crude production daily was put at 2.4 million barrels a day. Nigeria electricity generation and distribution was put at 7,500 megawatts of electricity daily. Nigeria debt during this period as well was put at, total debt was put at 13 trillion naira, which was somewhere around 23 billion dollars. I want to, what other things should I remind you of? Let's go through the economy as well. A liter of petroleum, well, again, the Nigeria refineries were working at the time at 45% capacity, which then made the oil, the fuel importation and subsidy payment in Nigeria to be pegged at somewhere around 250 billion naira. Now, fast forward to, economy. We're talking about economy here. The unemployment in Nigeria was put at 13.5 million people as unemployed Nigerians. Now, fast forward to 7 years after APC. We will start from the same, the early stage. Nigeria debts jumped to what is now confirmed to be over 120 billion dollars. And in naira, you can say 63 trillion naira. That puts every Nigerian, including a child in Nigeria, at in debt of 1.47 million naira each, dividing that by your 200 million population. Unemployed, well, the naira has crashed, and it has actually like sunk and buried in these 7 years. Nigeria naira took a serious fall from 199 naira to $1 to over 700 naira to $1 today. Nigeria economy, which was valued at over 500 billion, is now being put at under 350 billion dollars. You can multiply that in naira. That will give you a lot of trillions, by the way. The unemployment, like I said, jumped from 13.5 million to over 40% of the population, which you can, plus or minus put somewhere around 80 million unemployed. I mean, talk about attracting or means of easy means of doing business in Nigeria. In 7 years, Nigeria's foreign direct investments plummeted as well, right? From the positive 2.3 to 2.7 growth rates in 2015, plummeted to minus 3% now, which means the direct investment into Nigeria has took a flight. Companies folded up. They've increased your VAT. They've increased your tax. They have decided they have borrowed from almost everyone, including the dead people. Dormant accounts are being frozen and the money inside them are being taken because Nigeria need money. Yeah? Pensioners have already been told their savings are going to be borrowed for a period of, to be repaid back for a period of 40 years, which they won't pay. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in Nigeria's history, in a very long time, the Central Bank of Nigeria have printed over 21 trillion naira for Buhari's government. Apart from the other loans they took from China here and there, which actually put all your loan at over 63 trillion naira as we speak. Now, Nigeria has become poorer. Oil production in Nigeria has been, has nearly grounded, you will say, which happened to be the source of their forex in the first place. So from over 2 million barrels a day, it plummeted down to, below 1 million. At a point, it was at 800,000 barrels in a day. And the bunkers, those who are stealing Nigerian crude oil, they were having few days for 7 years until now that they decided to, well, let's make some scapegoats and then the media, blah, blah, then everything will die down and the business will continue. Tinubu believed that this legacy of Buhari on economy, it can turn it around when Nigeria will be servicing this debt. Nigeria would have to be paying over 2 trillion naira, minimum of 2 trillion naira every year for the next 40 years. What does that mean? It simply means that you will continue to have to suffer infrastructural decay, delay development, educational, funding for your education will continue to, you continue to be non-available. Support and the financing your healthcare system will continue to be a tall, high dream for many, many generations to come. Even though the politicians will always buy the easy life for themselves and all that. Let me show you a few things. They did promise that some of you today, you actually abused people. You took it upon yourself because you believed that, Buhari was coming to make a difference as then. And this failure, as no one is going to really challenge them, as we see in the system, yeah? So they will repeat the same before we get to that of Tinubu. Now, I remember when they had this on, when they said they were going to fight corruption. I don't know how many of you remember these words. These were the words of the APC, Egbekegbe, 7 years ago. Just some fractions of their word, okay? So we shall strengthen and make independent the EFCC, ICPC, and other anti-graft agencies and repeal the laws which inhibit their independence, right? We shall embark on public sensitization campaign and civic education against corruption in schools and town halls. We shall encourage civil society organization advocacy, blah, 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 right? So what is their record on corruption after 7 years? If I ask you. And if you don't remember, I'll remind you, okay? What happened is that under these criminals, the foreign banks or foreign countries, they have refunded Abacha loot severally to these people, right? And today we have it on record that the same loot have been relooted. In fact, one guy became famous under this APC, Egbekegbe, and his name is Magulusa Crook. Oh yeah, Magulusa Crook. Oh yeah, or Maguluta. Anyway, Maguluta Crook became the EFCC chairman under this criminal government. And it was just one spectacle after spectacle after spectacle until we realized that he is a big thief. Well, I didn't realize later, but eventually they had to expose him themselves that he is a bigger thief. That most of those, what he said they have recovered from the looters, they can no longer be accounted for. Money, houses, cars, and some of them are traced to his other ally, who is not a member of EFCC, but he's been making a kill for just being a friend of Luther Crook. And yeah, it's on record. And you know what happened to Maguluta Crook? They gave him a Aso Rock trial, lock him up inside that room, and change him. You know the story. Those who were jailed for corruption, former governors, former ministers, who are members of APC, Egbekegbe now, they have received the presidential pardon. Go and sin no more and keep your loot as long as you work for this notorious group called party. Yes, that's their record. And you know what? Those that you thought were going to end up in jail, all they stole from you will be taken from them. 7 years ago, when APC, Egbekegbe, were doing all of their, all of their shows, they ended up being your leaders in APC, Egbekegbe. Femi Foni-Kayode, that I remember, Sha. That's the name that came to my mind, right? There are many others. So Femi Foni-Kayode was accused of collecting money from Dasuki, the same money that APC, Egbekegbe, used in their campaign, that it was meant for the, the fight against Boko Haram, but PDP shared the money. And then FFK, Femi Foni-Kayode, received his own share, and he got arrested for it. He got he got locked up for it. His case is in court, and it will probably never see the light again. Now, today, that same Femi Foni-Kayode is the spokesperson for Tinubu presidential campaign in APC. How ironical. It's Nigeria, so don't be surprised. Because 7 years ago, they told you, corruption is killing Nigeria. If you don't kill it, it will kill, Nigeria. If you don't kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria. But rather, what they didn't tell you was that they were coming to legalize corruption. If you are not stealing under their authority, as in with their own authorization, then you are committing a crime. Or how do you explain it? Yeah, the Nigerian subsidy money that Buhari called fraud 8 years ago. Subsidy money, Nigeria was paying about 700, 800 billion naira for subsidy, on subsidy then, and you were buying a liter of petrol for 87 naira per liter, if you remember. Now, people said that was corruption. It doesn't make any sense. How could you be paying that much money to marketers when you can actually, fix your own refineries and produce what you actually use and all that? Well, they said they will remove it. They removed it in 2012. And that was the genesis and the beginning of the mobilization for the, the hand of Goodluck Jonathan, if you remember. So subsidy was fraud. Why would you be paying that much money? That's so crazy. It makes sense 8 years ago. Doesn't make any sense anymore. APC, Egbekegbe came in. They removed subsidy in Nigeria in 2016. You said you will protest, you will fight, this and that. Your oil price jumped from 87 naira to over 180 naira per liter. Remember that? Then they said they've renegotiated. It's going to come down to how much? 127 naira or something, if you remember. Then in 2017, 2018, they said they're removing the subsidy again. And this time around, it's going to be over 200 naira. Then you renegotiated it again. They brought it down to 140 something naira. But what they didn't tell you is this. While they are playing with your brain, with your head, and they are playing with your lives, during this period, they were actually paying subsidy in triple-fold than what those they called criminals were paying. 200 billion subsidy a year suddenly jumped to 600 billion, 700 billion, 1 trillion, 1.4 trillion, 2 trillion. Hello, in 2022, Nigeria's subsidy is, 2022-2023 budget, your subsidy is going to go up 4 trillion. When they ask them, come, this doesn't make any sense. People bring in fuel. Corruption, talking about corruption, and Buhari is the Minister of Petroleum, Abi. When you bring, how much liter of fuel does people use in Nigeria daily? They said Nigerians use 20 million liters a day. 20 million liters. Okay. From 20 million liters, it jumped. You said, no, Nigerians now use over 80 million liters a day. So if you bring 80 million liters today, which means if you fill your tank, the tank of your generator, or you fill the tank of your car, full tank, do you fill the tanks every day? For example, okay, maybe I shouldn't use generator because you have to use that constantly, Abi. 4 liter, 5 liter. I'm talking about people who actually buy thousands of liters as a supply. Do they buy them every day? So this is where their math doesn't add up. This is where the corruption was exposed, but nothing is done, and it remained. And Nigeria continued to pump money towards it, and nobody is telling you anything, Abi. This is where the whole thing doesn't add up. If I fill the tank of my car, let's say 50 liters, at least I will use that for, if I'm always like going everywhere, covering so many, you know what I mean? Maybe I'll use that for 2 days. This is not commercial now. Let's say commercial will have to buy again and again and again. But I mean, 80 million liters every day. Hooray. So that is what Nigeria is paying for. So it doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, like, why is it not like 80 million today, 35 million tomorrow, 40 million next day, 60 million next, 25 million this weekend, or maybe weekend that you have party and all of that, eh? So there should be some level of fluctuation. At least people are not using the same fuel every day. 80 million, 80 million, 80 million. It was just a conduit pipe. And then you are now buying fuel at nearly the double of what it was then. Do you get that now? Then you had inflation as well. Somebody's saying something about inflation, which is all right, yeah. Over the years, inflation and all that has contributed as well. But Nigeria continued to pump it and pump that. And then in these 7 years, Nigerian refineries died. And one of the solutions that APC, Egbekegbe, proposed